Hi everybody, welcome back to Carnation Crafts TV. I'm Laura. We have Bunny next door and this is our second show of the day, and we are looking at our beautiful bundles collection that you can see there. So this is item number 250401. This is our brand new collection. This launched yesterday. It's been extremely popular and we are almost 70% gone of this. It is on a show price for you of $99.99. This is going to go back up to full price at midnight on Friday. Okay, so a great chance to get in and get that saving, and you get your free P&P on that as well. So add in your perfect papers, your pro print, your glue, all of those essential bits that you don't want to pay your P&P on. I am going to go through the boards to show you exactly what you get in this collection. So we're going to start off with babies first. Now you can see this is an adorable set. You have got a teddy here, but like I was saying earlier, it doesn't scream a baby teddy. It's like an antique look baby, really, really cute. You also have the rattle, and you've got those little baby boots there and the blanket on the floor, which is just such a lovely image. Great for a grounding element, and you've got your scene builders there, so you can really build up those scenes with that nod of baby if you make and sell your baby cards. That's going to be absolutely perfect for you. And then we've got delivered safely. Now this, I feel, you can use in so many ways. It gives a vintage style. You can use it in your contemporary cards. There's just so many different ways of adding this in, and this is going to be a great one that adds in with lots of other collections too. Now this part here will make a card, it could make a name setting, it could be the message that you pop in the pin there to hold in the flowers that I'll show you in a minute. So there's lots of different ways of using that. Same with the tag and the oval shape here that you can pop onto there. You've got your stamp there for the wax seal that you can place on there or place around to again build that scene, and you've got your stack of letters there, all neatly wrapped up in your ribbon. And then we go on to our flora. So these are the elemental blooms. Now there's 3 in the one die set of these. Now these are a substantial size on their own. You can see you've got your 2 mats and layers in the back there, so you can use these on their own to make card shapes, which is amazing, because then essentially you have, so you can see there the 3 of them. If I turn around, you can see the mats there for the 3 has been used there to make that one. Or even if I bring this one in, if I take that bit away, you can see how that's been used there to actually make the card base, which is amazing. So you can see it's a substantial die on its own. One of the things I was saying, if you break the dies down in this collection and you use these like that to make card bases, you've essentially got 3 card bases and cards with the flowers, plus the frames, plus the stack shapes. So you have a lot of card shapes that you can use in these. Now you also get the decoupage element here to decoupage your daffodils up. And I adore these because I think they're the most realistic bunch of flowers I've seen, and not just because of how detailed the artwork and the cut lines are in the dies, but because you've got petals and flower heads at the bottom of the vase that have just fallen down, which I just think is such a, you know, a really lovely attention to detail. Because normally you do come downstairs in the morning and you see some petals or a flower head at the bottom of your vases of flowers. So I think it's such a lovely touch. So again, you've got your mats and layers, you've got your decoupage elements, and you have that stunning daisy bouquet in this one. And I even love how it's almost just a little bit tilted on those books, but you can see the flowers even it out, so it looks perfect. But it is such a lovely image, really bright, cheerful flowers there as well. And then we move on to our tulips. You can see there you've got your decoupage elements to build those up if you want to. I love this one. I love how it just, the florals flow. So it's very, very easy to like add extra bits in, just tuck things there. Really usable one. Plus you have this lovely vase with this one. I love that the vases are 3 completely different looking vases, so they will match up with lots of different elements that you might have from carnation at home already. Then we move on to our stacked shapes. Now these yesterday I was saying we could just spend an hour just cutting these out in different ways, because you've got your bases here, so these will stand up. So those outside mats, you cut those out and use them as card bases completely on their own. But then you can also use those mats and layers on the inside to mat and layer up like this, and you can see you've got those larger mats and layers, but then you can also cut into them. So like these ones, you can cut out those squares, you can mat and layer those on there, or you can cut into them again to give you aperture looks, and then you can pop them on there. So you've got apertures. You can even cut those into the card shapes and have apertures in them as well. So there's lots of different ways that you could use these. Even just using them as mats and layers onto your cards, they're going to work so well. And I love the shapes of them. It's something really unusual, something different, so it catches your eye straight away. You're instantly drawn to it because of that unusual shape. And then we go on to, I think this is one of my favourite ones in the collection. Even I love them all, but I think this one is just so underrated how much you'll actually use it. This is the frame, so Capture the Moment card shape. Now these are going to give you the most stunning frames that you can see there. So you have the small one and the large one. You have the perfect aperture in the center as well. So you can snip these out to give you that perfect aperture shape. So you can see there, you can mat and layer those up. You can pop another layer inside if you want to. There's so many different ways of using these. And I'm just going to show you one more because I've got one using the larger one there. Look how cute that is. I can just imagine it on like a bedside of a nursery, or like with the flowers on. Can you imagine giving that with like a uplifting message to somebody who's in hospital, and that could just be there for them to look at. You know, you can't take flowers into a hospital anymore, but having that image of flowers there is just, it's something to cheer you up straight away. So you can see there, that is the larger one. You can see how the corner pits go on. And then this is actually the stand that will go on to the back. So this will stand up just like a realistic photo frame, which is amazing. So that is the Capture the Moment card shape. Great as well for scrapbooking and memory booking. You're going to use those so much. And we're going to actually cut one of these out so that we can see what that looks like and how well that cuts out, because you don't have artwork for that, but it's such a detailed eye. I really don't think that you actually need that artwork in there. Now, before I cut this out, I'm just going to show you quickly the Perfect Papers, because I am going to cut these out with them. So we've got the light pink, the dark pink. You've got almost like a yellowy cream colour, a light cream, a darker green, and a lighter green. So you can see the array of colours there. You've got 48 sheets in there, 300 GSM. So you've got a lot in there, great for this collection. Obviously the colourways matching perfectly. Like if I just grab the flowers we cut out earlier, you can pop anything with these Perfect Papers and they just perfectly work. If you're stretching to it and you are getting the collection, add this in, because it really will just make it go that much further. And you don't have to worry about looking. I was saying yesterday, my biggest bugbear is if I'm looking for a specific shade of cardstock, and then I'll dig through my drawer to find it, and I'll find one, but then I'll start making whatever I'm making with it and realise I need another sheet for like mats and layers or something like that, and I haven't got another sheet of that shade. Like I've only got one of them left, so then it's like, oh, I've got to scrap that now and try and find something else, or try and make it work in a different way. So it just makes life so much easier. Right, so we're going to cut out the Capture the Moment. Now I've got the smaller frame on here, so you can see the size of it. I'm going to cut out the stand as well to go with, so we can see how that comes together. So I'm just going to pop them on. And I've got the Perfect Papers. So I'm cutting it out in the lighter shade of pink that has the stripes going across the side of it. So you're going to see what that looks like. But it gives you so much detail in the actual frame. And the lovely thing with this is it's got lots of snip lines in. So there's lots of different ways that you can actually snip into these, which is what we want. So let me just move that out of the way. so we've got our stand. Now that has got a little score line there, so that will just score like that. So you can see that is there like that. Now I'm going to lift this up the wrong way round for a minute so you can see how much detail. You can see all of that detail there in the frame. Now, but you'll also see you've got little snip lines to give you easy apertures within this. So if I flip this round, we're going to just pop this out. Come on, she says. There. Right, so now when I pop this out, you've got that lovely frame, and you can see you've almost got like wood grain. You've got all those detail lines going around the side. Now, but now you can use it in different ways. So what you can do is you could either go in and snip along those cut lines, because I'm not doing any type of fussy cutting. All I'm doing is just following the cut lines that are already there, and you're almost just like snipping the little paper pips that are holding the image together. So you're not doing any fussy cutting. Now you can cut that bit away. And then just like that, you've got a frame, and then you've got the image there in the center. So you can pop in an image in there, you could pop a sentiment in there, but you've got that. Now the other thing you can do is you could cut out that middle part as well. So if you cut out this frame, so because this bit is essentially like your mount that you'd have in like a photo frame. So if I get my scissors in there, now you can cut this bit out. And then, so if you've got like, if you're going to put an image in there and you want a larger space to pop an image or a verse, pop that bit out. And then you've got like your mount and your frame. So you've got that option there. So then the other thing you could do is, let me grab, because I'm actually going to use this in my next one. So you could also, so I've cut that out in white. You can pop that on there like that, and that will fit on there. And then you can pop, so you, and you can also mix and match these up as well. So you can make multiples of these ready to go. So like if you cut this out in, maybe you've got like a wood grain cardstock or like a dark brown, because don't forget you can use this with anything. So you could cut these out in black and use them for like your scrapbooking for Halloween cards, or cut them out in Christmas colours, cut them out in whatever image you were putting in there. Now you pop that on there and you've got those two frames within there then. And then you could do the same thing again. You could cut out that aperture, but you've still got those two frames that just draw your eye in to that frame. So you've got so many different options with this. Or you could put the pattern cardstock there and then have the frame in a different color and mount it up. I know, let me just grab one I did yesterday, because this one, so you can see I did the center bit in a different color, the mount is in the same color as the background, but then the frame I did in craft card, and you can see I cut it out with Elevate. So I've just used some Elevate so that that's just sticking out like a frame, and then you can pop that in. So there's lots of different ways that you can actually bring the frames together. Just have a play around with them. Even cut them out like that actually. You could use, get a 6x6 card and you could just use them like, oh, come on. You could use them like a pattern on a card. Oh, I want to do that now. Right, I'm distracting myself now. Right, let's do my demo before I start doing something completely different. Right. Right, now our card base, we are gonna use the stacked shapes. Okay, now I'm using the circles, and this is going to be my base. I adore these. When I was getting ready for the shows and I was prepping, I was like, I've got to stop using them so much, because I felt like I was using them on every single card that I was doing. But they just work so well. So I'm just going to glue the top part of this card. So like I said, you could use these as matte layers, or you can use them as a card base. So this is the outside die that I've used. So you can see I've got that base there to stand up on, which is so important, especially with circle cards, because you'll have seen me do it sometimes. When I make a circle card, I cut the bottom off to make sure it will stand up. And especially when you're doing something like we do with our carnation cards, when we're putting decoupage and we're building those scenes on, if you have more weight on one side than the other, it's just going to wobble over. So you never have to worry with this. This is just going to stand up perfectly, so you don't need to worry about that. So we've got our base. Now I'm going in with that light pink stripe from the Perfect Papers next. And these are the next layers up. So, but you can see there, those are the Perfect Papers that I'm using. So that is 250408. So you're going to get 48 sheets in there. So they are going to last you a long time. But like I said, it's just the ease of how well that they coordinate in with the collection. And especially if you're quite new to card making, I think it's such... When I first started card making, I didn't know it at the time, but putting colours together was the hardest thing for me. I didn't realise how many... So when I first started card making, my grandmother took me to a shop, a craft shop that she knew about. So I went to this craft shop, all excited, and somebody had asked me to make some cards for them, and they wanted them to be, they just wanted birthday cards, and they wanted them to be red themed. So I went in and I bought all this pretty things that was red, and then when I got home and I actually popped them on my desk and looked at them, like none of them went. Like they were all different shades of red, and then I'd like place things and just look at it and think, that's wrong. It just looks wrong. And I didn't realise at the time, but that's what it was. It was that I was trying to put colours together, even though they were all red, because all the shades of red were different. It didn't work. It just looked completely wrong. And that's something you'll never have to worry about with carnation. The shades have been pulled out from the artwork that you get in the collection, so it's going to coordinate perfectly. They just hold your hand and you can't really go wrong. So we're going to do our frame now. So the frame we've just cut out. We've got the frame. So this is the one that I already cut out, and then we've got those outside bits that we've just snipped away. So we're going to stick these on here. So, and I've used the same stripe that I used in the backing paper, so they coordinate in nicely. So we're going to pop some of our glue on here, and then I feel like I've put way too much glue on there, so let's just pull some off. That is going to sit on there like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the small amount. I'm going to just... I like the idea of puppies. You could put... can you imagine putting the ultrasound picture in there and giving it to somebody for like a congratulations card? So you could do things like that, or you could even print verses in there. Like I love this one with that, just that sentiment in. So you know, you could put little verses in there. You can do so much with them. And especially, like I said, if you do memory books and scrapbooking, they are just going to be so useful, because you can just pop pictures in those and then just add them in. Or you could, like I just showed you, you could even add in, like you could even write in there like your memory of something and add it in with the picture. So there's just so many different ways of using it. Now this is going to sit about there, I think. But before I do that, let's not get ahead of myself. We are going to add in the corner pieces. So you've got, these are just the most ornate little corners. The artwork you get in there, look at that. It looks like metal, doesn't it? It looks like a little metal. And again, if you are somebody that does memory book and scrapbooking, there's nothing to stop you actually just using that on your photos as if that's actually holding. So if you imagine that's a photo, you could just pop it on the corner like that, so it looks like it's actually holding the picture in. So there's lots of different ways that you could actually use these. Now this one, I'm going to cover this side of the frame, so I'm only going to pop these on the two outside areas because you're not going to see the other bit. So they are just going to go on there, and you can see even with the pink perfect paper, that still works really, really well. So before I start sticking everything down, we're going to stick our sentiment in. I remembered about my mats this time. I'm going to include them this time. Last time I forgot to pop them in, so we're going to make sure we get those in first. So your mats and layers you've got with these stacked shapes, you could use them to make so many different, you can change the shape of these completely. So like this one, I've used the mat and layer there to build the card shape up, and then I've used the circle mats and layers there, and so I've cut one of the circles out just in white cardstock, and I've just stamped one of my clean and simple stamps on there. And then the next one, so I've cut that same shape out again in the stripe that I'm using, and then I've popped in, I think it's, I've skipped a die and gone to the next one to give me that lovely frame that will just sit in there like that. But you could do that with the actual big mats and layers as well. So you could essentially make an aperture in these as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can actually use these. Right, that's not going to fit. Let's use some pin flare. So I'm just going to put a little bit of pin flare on this just so it's slightly raised up from the mat in the back, because that'll just give us a little bit of dimension. Oh, you could turn this into a picture frame. That's a good idea. So that is just going to sit on there like that. So you've got your frame. So that's there like that. So we've got essentially our card. Now we're going to start going in and do the decorating bit. So this is going to sit roughly for there. Now I've got my florals. This is going to sit there like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this in first. So I'll just put some glue on that corner there. And we're going to pop that there like that. So we've got our frame, and then we're going to add our floral in, and again this is going to almost hang off of the card, so I'm only going to glue this center piece, so the left bit of the flowers I'm just going to pop some glue along them, so they are just going to sit there like that, and that's just extending now the card nicely. So that's just going to go there like that. Right, and then what I'm going to do next is I've got another one of these, and can you see I've just snipped some of the background away from it. So when I pop this on there now, I'm getting more dimension from that. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of shape. And then let's grab our pin flare. And we'll pop this on there then. So we can just pop this on. Now, I'm not adding any more decoupage on top of this, but if you were doing this and you're going to go in and add the decoupage flowers on, make sure you pop your pin flare under those flowers where you're popping the decoupage so they don't they've got the strength there to hold them up. So we're going to pop that on there like that. And then we're going to come in with our flowers, our letters. So I've got my baby blanket that is going to sit across there. So let's use some glue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this to our teddy. I'm just going to glue that there like that to him, and then I'm going to pin flare him up so that he's just a bit more proud than those books. So we're going to bring him to the front of the card. So that is going to sit there like that. He's just so cute, isn't he? And I was panicking then. I was thinking, why haven't I put one there? Because I can't see what's going up there. I've got another one here. It was hiding. It was hiding. So let's pop that on there. And then I've also got our letters. So we're going to pop these. Gonna go there like that. And then I've got another one. So like I showed you earlier, I've just gone and snipped those bits that are make it look like it's stacked up. We've just cut those away, but aren't they just adorable? You've got your ribbon there, you've got the writing on there, you know, you've even got the little shading, look, as if where it's been creased over. Such a detailed die that you can use. And then I'm just going to tuck this one under there like that. And then I've got the flat, oh, I've moved him, just move him back. And then I've got the flatter one then, and I'm just going to tuck that. Under there like that, so let's just add into that grounding element there. So now if I pick that up, how lovely is that? It's such a beautiful collection, and you know, they're so easy to work with. I think if there was ever a collection that I'd recommend to somebody who's brand new to crafting, I think this would be it, because I feel like you know, florals, I think we all love flowers because you can use flowers for any occasion. So you've got every occasion covered with your flowers. So even if you just use the flowers on their own, you've got all of your occasions covered. If you were just starting crafting or you've just started die cutting, you can make the cards just with the elemental blooms on their own and make those into card shapes. But then you've also got elements there that you can see you can easily add in. So you've got your baby's first that we've added in, or you've got your delivered safely we've added in. We've added in the capture the moment there as well. And then we've added in the stack shape. So I've actually used every die in the collection on there. But it doesn't look overwhelming. It still looks really clean and simple, even though that I've added in a bit there from every single die set that we have in the collection. They just tie together effortlessly, and you could quite easily leave the bear out of it. So if you wanted to make this for, you know, maybe a friend or something else and you wanted to change that, you could easily leave that out and it would still look really lovely. Or you could add a picture into the picture frame and make it more personal. So there's just so many different ways that you can play around with these. So it is such a lovely collection. But it is all from our Beautiful Bundles collection that you can see there. So this is 250401. It is our brand new collection. that launched yesterday, and it has been so popular. We are almost at 70% of the stock of this has already gone, so it has been extremely popular with everybody at home as well. Now I am going to show you some, let me grab a different box, of the design team samples, because they have been, I think they've enjoyed this just as much as I have, because there's so many samples here. So we've got one here from Barbara, and you can see they're bringing in those daffodils, and you can see she's actually added in a lot more, so you can really go in and build up these flowers if you want. Bringing in the delivered safely there, you can see with the stamp and the pin with those envelopes, and bringing in those stacked shapes. How beautiful. Look at the dimension on there. It just works so well. And we've got one here bringing in these frames. Now somebody messaged us yesterday when we showed this, asking how they are together. So I think what they've done is cut a strip of card that to this length, and then cut out the frame. So like I showed you earlier, you cut out the frame, and then you do the front of it, and then cut another one out to go on the back, so you're actually covering the back then. So then that strip of card will be in between those two cards there, but leave a little gap, so obviously you can bend it, and then that will stand up. But can you imagine that? And then you did the same on the other side. You could make wall art with these. You could make frames to go on a wall. So there's lots of different ways that you can actually mix and match these up. And this is a lovely one here from Pam, bringing those flowers inside those apertures. So don't forget, you can cut into them. And I love how Pam's used the corner bits on the inside to actually decorate that frame. And we've got one here by Sue. How pretty. They just make you want to smile just by looking at them. They're just really uplifting. I love this one as well by Pam. And she's actually used the mirrored vignettes. So the two bears are looking in opposite directions. How cute is that? It's twins. How adorable with the little boots. And you can see there, she's actually used those stacked shapes to make an aperture inside the card, which I just think works so well. Barbara's done this one for us. Look at that. And again, if I just flip that around, you can see the stand to actually stand that up like a photo frame. That, I think, is just the cutest frame. And then this one, I think Pam has done such a good job with this one, because if you have a look, so this is the frame, and then this is actually the stand to hold the back up, but Pam's actually used them as little tags, look, on the side. So you can see how they're going to work like that. And then you've got your stacked shapes there, so you can see how they are going to layer up on top of each other. Again, popping those onto a card. So instead of using them as the card shape, we're going to use those as mats and layers onto your card. And again, same idea here. So you're using those as mats and layers. You're not using them as a card base. You're using them as the mats and layers onto your card. Matching all those in as well. And then I've got one more. Oh, actually, I've got two more. So we've got our stacked shapes there. So you can see using your mats and layers there and bringing in, making apertures there. If I just spin that there, so you can see building in those frames, using those mats and layers to make apertures, and popping those there. Vera's done that one, which I think is such a stunning card. They're all stunning. And then I've just got one more. I just want to show you this one, because I don't think we've seen this one yet. Sue did this one for us. And I think Sue has used the inserts or the backing papers, because don't forget, we do have free backing papers and inserts that you can download to coordinate with the collection. And using the decoupage elements, look, to decorate those two panels with the sentiment there in the center. I just think it works so well. Right, I'm just going to pop these samples away, and then we'll do, we're gonna do another demo. Bunny, I cannot hear a word you were saying. I think my talkback has died, so I'm just gonna go in and do another demo. So we're gonna use the stacked shapes to do this one. So we're going to use them as mass and layers on a card. Okay, so I've got my card base, because the one we did just now, we did use the hang on a minute, oh, right, let's try again. Right, so we're gonna start with our card. So we're doing a DL shape card, and we've cut this out. We're gonna use our cardstock, and we're scoring the top bit of this. So I'm gonna glue this top bit, and then we're gonna make that into our card shape. Just quickly gonna change. Right, so we're just going to glue this top bit. Right, so we'll glue that top, and this is going to stick on to there. Right, so that's going to go on there. Now, I am using our DL dies to make this card shape, okay? So if you are tuning in today looking for those DL shapes, you can see that they have sold out. I am still using them obviously to demo for people that have already got them, and we will have these on the Hobby Maker show at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Okay, so we are showing them because they are going to be available tomorrow, but unfortunately our stock here at Carnation for the minute has completely sold out. So if you are wondering where they've gone, where I can get them from, you can get them on Hobby Maker at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Okay, so that is where they will be. So I am using, you can see the daffodil one there, so that's what I'm using now. They are really pretty. As soon as I seen them, I was like, they are going to go before the bundle goes. They are just such pretty dies, and you've essentially got 3 card shapes in there for your crafting, so they do go a long way. So we are using our pivot papers, so you can see I've got that lovely pink that we're using there, and I'm using the solid colour in this one to get that lovely pink colour, and then I'm just going to pop the next layer down with a sheet of white. Then our next layer we're going to go back in with that pink. Now this we have made into an aperture, so the card shapes you do get mass and layers to fit the unique aperture that is on each one. Now I've used it to make the aperture in the layer instead of using them as mass and layers to go on top. I've used them like that. So you can do this exact same thing with the stacked shapes as well, which is what makes, I think that's what makes this set so popular, is there's just so many different ways of using them, you know, and especially I think when you look at the design team samples, they all look so different, even though they've all had the same collection, but they all look so different. So we're just going to use some foam to raise this up. Oh, Viv has got her order and is saying she can't wait to play with it this afternoon. So Suzanne, Pam Simpson has messaged saying hello, and it's lunchtime, so she's able to watch again. Afternoon, Pam. And Suzanne Page has messaged in as well. Oh, and Kim has messaged saying that she loves this site and she's actually waiting for hers to get delivered. It's mad how quick the Carnation are at the delivery. I mean, it's so good for us because when you order something, you literally want it to arrive right then and there, don't you? It's like you want to press order and then the doorbell goes with your order. But next day, I think, is the next best thing, isn't it, to that? So it's so lovely. It's the worst when you're waiting for things to get delivered. So you could be crafting along. So just for speed, you can see I've put foam pads along that strip where I've made the aperture. Now I would put little foam pads on here to keep this raised up, but just for speed, I'm just going to pop some Pinflair on those flowers just to keep that held up. And then when I pop that on there, you can see I've got that aperture there. So you can see the dimension that you get there in that aperture. It just looks, and that's just using white and one sheet of the Perfect Papers, and it looks so effective. They're just so pretty. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to go in with our florals. So these are the Eternal Blooms. You do get 3 different ones in that set. This is the daffodil one. So I've obviously chosen this because it coordinates in with the background. And what I've done with this is I've cut out 2 of these. So I've got one there, so I've die cut that out. That's exactly how it comes when you die cut those out, okay? And then the next one, I've snipped essentially the top half of the bouquet away. So that is going to decoupage on there. And then, because I've done this in the mirrored vignette, what I'm going to do, that top bit, because obviously I'm not going to waste anything, I'm going to flip that so it looks as if it's going in a different direction, and that is going to go on top. So I'm just extending the bouquet, but we're adding lots of dimension at the bottom because we're going to add that in there. So let's get some Pinflair on this, get some dimension in this, and pop some on those flowers, and then that is just going to sit on there like that. That really does show you how big the flowers are, doesn't it? Because it is. They are such lovely. How have I got? I need to keep a ruler in here, don't I? I do it all the time. Like, how big is it? But they are really nice. Let's pop that in there, and then this, I'm going to just tuck that in there like that. So it just flows with those flowers, and I'm just extending the height on that then. I mean, it looks absolutely perfect like that, but I don't want to waste that bit that we've used. So that is just going to tuck in there behind that. Now I'm going to add in some of my other elements on here. So I've got Hugs and Kisses. Now the other thing you could do with this as well is you could add that actually into the pin on there, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop some of these elements on the bottom of the card. So we're going to go in with our teddy. Actually, let's pop this in first. So I've got our letters here, and I'm going to tuck that under there like that, so that looks like it's coming out from that aperture. And I'm going to do the same thing with the smaller letter, because this I think is a great grounding element because it looks as if it's just down. You can just tuck that in and that will just fit under your scenes then. And then we're going to pop in a cute little teddy bear, and I'm going to actually tuck that in there like that. And then I've got our adorable little boot, which is just going to set there like that. And then I've got, so the oval I've got, that is also from the Delivered Safely. So like I said, you could use that with that pin as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to use some pin flags. I've put some on there. And I'm just going to tuck that there at the top, just to break that pink up, so you can see, bringing those in with that DL. You can see how that comes together, and you can see, look at the dimension that you can build up just using them, but they just work together so beautifully. Let's see, so we've done that one. We've got that one. Ooh. I'm not going to lie to you, Bunny. I can't remember what cards I did earlier. Was it? It wasn't that one, was it? No? What one did I do? Oh, this was one, I think. Was that one of them? No, no? Oh, that was one. Did we? Oh no, the glue's hard. It definitely. What did I do then? Right, hang on. It was definitely that one because I forgot to put the mats and layers on. That was it, because I forgot to put the mats and layers on the square bit, and then it was this one. I remembered now. Oh, there, so we can see. So them were the two, but you know, it's just showing you the different ways that I've used them. So like that one, we did that one as mats and layers, or then the one we just did earlier, you know, using them as a card shape. So you can see different ways of using that. Or bringing in the tidies, using the mirrored vignettes. So there's lots of different ways of actually bringing them in. And that's actually the same one. So that one, we did it with the aperture, and then that one we did using the mats and layers. So you can see how different that looks. Just using them as an aperture or using them as mats and layers changes the look of them completely. But obviously, if you want to make any of them cards, you do need to get the Beautiful Bundles collection, which is our brand new collection that launched yesterday. It's been so popular with everybody at home. We are already approaching 70% of the stock of this has gone already. So it has been really, really popular, which I'm not surprised, because I think when you break this down and you look at those dies individually, they're so usable on their own right. But as a bundle like this, they just work so well together, and they just come together without having to put effort into it. You can just pop these together and they work incredibly well. So I'm going to show you the board so you can see exactly what comes in each one of these. So we've got babies first to start off with. So you can see there you've got that lovely baby blanket, which already has so much character. You can tell that like the baby's just dropped that on the floor. You can see how it's just crumpled up, so pretty, with the teddy, the rattle, and those baby boots there. They just look so cute, absolutely adorable. But like I was saying earlier, for me the teddy as well almost looks like an antique teddy. He doesn't look too babyish. He looks really, really cute. So you've got your baby's first there to start off with. Then you've got delivered safely. So you've got your card, which could also be used as a name placement there to go in the pin. You've got your letters stacked up there, nicely tied with the ribbon. Your stamp there for your wax seal that you can pop on there to make it look as if the stamp is set and in place. You've got your tag with your layers there, and then you've got those ovals that are going to fit on there as well. Then you've got your elemental blooms. Now, like we said, these are such big dies on their own. You can absolutely use these for your own cards in their own right. So like this one, you can see the three of them have been used together. But if I just turn it around so you can see those outside mats have been used to make the card base. Vera done this one for us. So you can see how you could use those just on their own to actually be your card, because they are big enough that you can absolutely do that. So you've got your daffodil one there that you can build up. Then we go on to the daisy one, which I just think is such an uplifting image when you look at them. The colours in these, they're so vibrant. Great, I think, for especially this time of year now. You know, the sun is coming, we all feel that little bit more cheery. So you've got those there, and don't be afraid either to cut into these like I've showed you and break them down as well. Then we've got the tulips there as well. So you've got your decoupage elements again. I love this one with the flow of the foliage going with the vase. You've got the bow hanging on the handle, but for me in every one of these, the detail with the petals and that flower head sort of falling on the floor is what makes these look so realistic and so impactful when you look at them. Then we've got our stacked shapes. Now we've used these quite a lot in my demos, and there's just so many different ways that you can actually use these. Use them as a card base and make your actual card out of these. Use them as mats and layers onto a card. Pop your mats and layers into them and make them into apertures. There's just lots of different ways that you can build these up. Like you can see there, you can use them just as mats and layers, pop them on, cut the next die in and make little frames, make your own apertures into these, add those on. There's just lots of different ways that you can actually use these. And then we move on to our capture the moment card shape, which I think is going to be one that you will not realize how much you actually use this. It will give you great looking cards straight away. If you just cut them out, pop these on like that, you have the stand that you can see there. So that will actually just stand up like a photo frame, which I just think is absolute. The attention to detail for that I think is amazing. Now these will give you your own apertures as well, so you can cut into these like I showed you at the start of the show. You've got so many different options of snipping into these and how you want to layer them up, but you can do that with the larger one, or you can use the smaller one as well and mix and match those up. So you can see there the size difference, but you also get the corner pieces and the stand for the smaller one as well, so you can mix and match those up. But that is everything that you will be getting in the Beautiful Bundles collection. It is 250401, which is on a show price of $99.99 for you, but that is going to go back up to full price at midnight on Friday. You have got your free P&P with that as well. So have a look on the website. You know, do you need glue? Do you need pro paper? Do you need pin flare? You know, pop those things in while you've got that free P&P. And if you can, not forgetting our perfect papers as well, because they do coordinate with the collection perfectly. You can see there your colorways coordinate in with the artwork in the collection absolutely perfectly. So you can see there it is 300 GSM and 48 sheets, so it's a good pack of paper that's going to last you a long time of crafting with this collection. Now I'm going to assume that we are wrapping up because I've lost you again. So that brings us to the end of our second show. We are going to be back at 2, so if you want to see some more inspiration with this bundle, then hopefully grab a cup of tea, grab a cup of coffee and come back and join us at 2.